So first up, I want to jump into Saul's shot. And in his shot, what we're going to focus on is the three pieces of the body, the head, chest, and hips, and how those three overlapping parts sort of accordion, pull apart and squash together and move around a bit, how to do a translation pass on those to really loosen up a shot and give it a sense of fleshiness. And, you know, I use this technique on cartoony stuff, on naturalistic stuff, and everything in between. And then let's trim it down this way just so we're not looking at a massive timeline. I just want to take this first transition here and do a little something on this one. So let's see. We've got a little down before we go up here, but it does pop a little bit from that to that. So we just want to look at our body curve. Okay, so there's a little up before we come down. But that first frame when he goes down kind of pops for changing direction. So I just want to soften that a little so that changing direction is hard. And then he sort of hits a wall at the bottom. And the reason I'm doing this is I like the hips to be very polished before I go ahead and start layering in any sort of offset between these three pieces. Otherwise, I'm later going to have to do counter animation with the independent hip controller here to get things right. But ideally, if I get the hips right, then I only need to do my translation, squash, and stretch on this part and on this part. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a pop from here to here. I'm going to soften that. Now that I know my hips are pretty good, I'm going to soften this using the chest piece by just translating it up over one frame. So now my spacing is not as severe. Translate that up a little. Here I think the body goes up too quick from that to that. And I can use this technique to also clean up arcs and just force things to sort of be where I want them to. So here the head takes another very rounded arc, and I feel like I might get more out of it if it were a little more stabilized. So I'll see that arc of that head, and I might come in here, might stabilize it by using the chest translate a little bit as he comes up, so it's not on such an angle. And likewise come back a bit on this frame. And then he hits a bit of a wall here, so I'm maybe going to overshoot a little. Now see how instead of hitting that pose and just sticking, he hits it, goes a little past it in terms of stretch, maybe lingers for a frame, and then starts to come down, you know, quite a bit. Maybe even goes past a little bit and bounces back up. And again, might drag the head a little here. Can probably get away with a lot because it's such a fast transition. Yeah. So now that feels too big. And when it comes down, it's a little slow. Probably get down here sooner, overshoot, and then come back up to our rest position, which is there. You see that fleshiness now? It's not quite right, so we're going to polish it a little. And I think what it is a couple of things. We're coming down too slow. These things usually resolve a little faster than you think. Yeah, I think he spends too long in this up position. I think we can go a little bigger. Now this feels too slow. Feels a bit watery because he's bouncing around for too long, so I'll tighten it up. Boing, boing. Feels much better. So here, as we take off, let's try letting the hips take off first and just counter animating this chest to pull up a little as he comes down. So it feels like the hips are sort of dropping first. Likewise, I'm going to take the head and do the same sort of thing. So it gets down here a little later. And then here I'm going to kind of make it feel like the spine is leading the action. Create a sort of lead and follow feeling here. And see how the head's sort of, it's not locked in screen space, but it's certainly not flying up like it was before. So it gives us the feeling like the midpoint of the spine is kind of the driver a little bit here. As the hips go up, I'm going to take the chest piece and bring it down. See how that compresses and then uncompresses, spreads apart, and then settles down. Boing, boing, boing. I just want to quickly layer in some head on top of this. So the head pops in screen space here. Overshoot the head. Now as the chest piece goes down, the head might counter up a little bit, so it just drags basically, and then compresses. And I would keep it to 3 controls so it doesn't get complex, and then I'm just polishing the translates on those 3. And that way, once I get it all in there, if I decide, oops, I've overdone it, I can just easily take those curves and scale them down and get all of that same offset relationship and squash and stretch, but just essentially dial it up and down until I find the right amount. Like here, the neck is stretching way too much. I'm just going to reduce it while I'm in here. Okay, let's play that back. And see how we're getting that nice fleshy accordion feel. If you just look at that spine and how it accordions, it just gives it that little bit of extra energy. Now, because Soul Shot is kind of hyper cartoony, we don't want to loosen it up too much. So as I said, it becomes a little bit of a back and forth, sort of scaling these keys up and down, especially on the resolve. So like this part where it resolves, I might experiment with just grabbing those keys and seeing if resolving that a little quicker keeps a little bit of that, you know, nice snappy energy, but still gives us a little bit of extra fleshiness. That is actually a little better.